Nativa Vanachari Yamunativa Vanachari Jaya Rama Rama Kunjavihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Radhari Reading Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 14. Yasya Anuraga Pluta Hasa Rasa Lila Avaloka Patilabda Manaha Radashriyaha Drigbihi Anupravrita Diyaha Avatastuhu Kila Kritya Seshaha Yashanuraga Pluto Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Patilabda Manaha Lila Valoka Patilabda Manaha Vajashriyo Digbir Anuparvita Vajashriyo Digbir Anuparvita Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Seshaha Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Seshaha Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Patilabda Manaha Vajashriyo Digbir Anuparvita Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Seshaha Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Patilabda Manaha Vajashriyo Digbir Anuparvita Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Seshaha. Please repeat.
Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa
Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Patilabda Manaha Vajashriyo Digbir Anuparvita Diyo Vasu Kila Kritya Seshaha Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa Lila Valoka Patilabda Manaha Vajashriyo Drigbir Anuparvita. Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Sheshaha. Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa. Lila Valoka Pratilabdhamanaha. Vajashriyo Drigbir Anuparvita. Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Sheshaha. Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa. Lila Valoka Pratilabdhamanaha. Vajashriyo Drigbir Anuparvita. Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Sheshaha. Drigbir Anuparvita. Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Sheshaha. Mataji. Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa. Lila Valoka Pratilabdhamanaha. Vajashriyo Drigbir Anuparvita. Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Sheshaha. Yashanuraga Plutaha Sarasa. Lila Valoka Pratilabdhamanaha. Vajashriyo Drigbir Anuparvita. Diyo Vatastu Kila Kritya Sheshaha. Okay. So word for word translation. Yashya, whose. Anuraga, attachment. Pluta, enhanced by. Hasa, laughter. Rasa, humorous. Lila, pastimes. Avaloka, glancing. Patilabda, obtain thereof. Manaha, anguished. Rajashriyaha, damsels of Raja. Drigbihi, with the eyes. Anuparvita, following. Diyaha, by intelligence. Avatastuhu, said silently. Kila, indeed. Krityaseshaha, without finishing household duties. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The damsels of Raja, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Purport. In his boyhood at Vrindavan, Lord Krishna was notorious as a teasing friend and transcendental love to all the girls his age. His love for them was so intense that there is no comparison to that ecstasy, and the damsels of Raja were so much attached to him that their affection excelled that of the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. Lord Krishna finally admitted his defeat before the transcendental affection of the gopis and declared that he was unable to repay them for their unalloyed affection. Although the gopis were seemingly anguished by the Lord's teasing behavior, when Krishna would leave them, they could not tolerate the separation and used to follow him with their eyes and minds. They were so stunned by the situation that they could not finish their household duties. No one can excel him even in the dealing of love exchange between boys and girls. It is said in the revealed scriptures that Lord Krishna personally never goes beyond the boundary of Vrindavan. He remains there eternally because of his transcendental love of the inhabitants. Thus, even though he is not visible at present, he is not away from Vrindavan for a moment. Om Agyana Timiranda Shaganandana Salakaya Chakshu Umilitam Yena Taismai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobi Samstapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Patakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagujatam Saharagunadvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sagan Vitam Shah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Pa Shata Desitarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ardalingaya Nabase Namo Antarvamane Namaha Punyaya Lokaya Mushma Vivarsase Parvitaya Nivitaya Putideva Karmane Namo Dhamavipakaya Mitivedigadaicha. So reading the translation again. The damsels of Raja, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchange of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. So this is the topmost level of loving affection between Krishna and his devotees. I must admit, I am not so qualified to speak on such exalted subject matters, but I will do my best to speak on what I can. But this example is an example of Krishna and his dealings with the gopis in pure love, loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees. And the purport, Prabhupada makes a point that there was no comparison to that ecstasy. What is this? Yeah, his love for them was so intense that there was no comparison to that ecstasy. So we should understand that the ecstasy of the spiritual world is completely different from the ecstasy of the material world. You know, it's completely insignificant, actually, the happiness in the material world. Because ultimately, actually, Prabhupada gave us the process of attaining real happiness. Because ultimately, real happiness lies within the Krishna consciousness movement. Why? Because the Krishna consciousness movement is non-different from Krishna. So you see these other religious processes, they're not actually gaining any real rasa, any real bliss from the process. But Krishna consciousness is so unique because it's non-different from Krishna himself, Sakshananda Vigraha. So when those devotees who are in touch with the Krishna consciousness movement, they can experience this highest level of bliss. And my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Swami Maharaj, says that the highest level of expression of happiness is dancing. And you see this, you come to our temple in Manga Arti, 4:30 in the morning, and we're dancing happily. At first it might seem artificial, but then I think Prabhupada says this, that, the more you dance, then the devotion will come, the love and purity will come. And you see devotees, we shine with happiness. You look at materialists' faces, like you go and do books, you can just see not how beautiful they are, not how pretty. I think Chandracharya gave his class on beauty, this external beauty that everybody has, just covered with makeup or, whatever, nice clothes. But ultimately, as devotees, we see that they're ultimately suffering because they have no connection with Krishna. So real happiness comes from the spirit soul, and devotees shine with this happiness. Devotees are shining with the happiness of Krishna consciousness. You see, devotees are very bright-faced. Krishna consciousness is ultimately, like Prabhupada said, it's not an artificial imposition of the mind. It's something that's practically realized and experienced. And there's a process of doing so. So this verse is talking about this highest level of prema between Krishna and the gopis. But before we get there, we have to understand the process, the rules and regulations. I'm going to speak about it a little later. But ultimately, there's no material circumstances that impeded Krishna and the gopis' love. The gopis, if you've seen this verse, they said they were anguished. Yeah, they were anguished when Krishna left them, and they were stunned, intelligent, they could not finish their household duties. We got to understand these feelings on the transcendental platform, although it might seem anguish, anxiety, it's all transcendental. From the mundane eyes, you might see, why would you serve a God that's putting people in anxiety and anguish? But ultimately on the spiritual platform, these feelings are ultimately blissful. You can't understand this with material intelligence. You have to experience it practically. And we should understand, it's actually a verse, you could pull this up. I think it's 14:20 in Bhagavad Gita. Gunan etana tichatrin dehi deha samud bhavan. It's not so cited so much. Yeah. When the embodied being is able to transcend these modes, three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. People don't quote this verse a lot, but I stumbled across it, and I was like, wow, you can enjoy nectar even in this life. So you see Christians, Muslims, they feel like they have to wait towards they die to attain some type of higher taste or some higher nectar. But even in this life, right in this very minute, we can experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness. The reason why actually we don't fully taste this bliss of Krishna consciousness, the bliss that's being described in this verse, is because we have unlimited material desires in our heart. Unlimited from time immemorial. We don't fully taste the nectar because of these desires in our heart, but the process given down by the acharyas is meant to purify us of these illicit desires. And this nectar, once you taste it, no material inconvenience can disturb you. Just like the gopis, no material inconvenience can disturb their pure loving service to Krishna. And we shouldn't let our material inconvenience disturb us. Like there's some devotees here that they fell in the weather, but you see they're still, chanting their rounds. They're still coming to Bhagavatam class. They're still reading, because they're not letting inconveniences disturb them. Even Srila Prabhupada, when he performed the pastime of leaving this world, or leaving this material body, because ultimately he's a Nityasiddha, but he showed how to leave this world. He showed by example. And when he was on his deathbed, his devotees, some of his disciples saying, Prabhupada, you take this medicine, take that. He said, no, just give me the nectar of Krishna Katha. All he wanted was the nectar, the medicine. He said this is the medicine of this age, from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. All he wanted to do is listen. This is the real medicine. He didn't let, although, like I said, he's a completely Nityasiddha, not affected by material modes, but he wasn't affected by these material modes because he was completely absorbed in the Krishna consciousness. So we should understand how to purify our consciousness so we can come to a level of pure bliss. And there's actually a verse I was just reading. It's like Avrita Gyanam Etina Gyaninam Nitya Vairina. What's that? Kamarupina. You know this verse? Kamarupina, what's that last one? Oh yeah, Konteya Dusparinana Liyacha. So it's in the 3rd chapter. It pretty much says that the wise living in these pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy of lust. The reason why, like I said, our desires for lust is the reason why we can't taste this full nectar. And this lust, it says, is never satisfied and it burns like fire. So no matter how much oil you pour in fire, you can never fully satisfy this lust in your heart. But the process of Krishna consciousness is meant to purify this lust and turn into pure love. Ultimately, the purpose of life is to enjoy. I remember reading that in the Science of Self-Realization. I was really confused because it says, Prabhupada continues, says, we are not the enjoyers. However, he says that the purpose of life is to enjoy, but the problem is we, as conditioned souls, we don't know how to enjoy correctly. We enjoy by serving Krishna, and we taste a remnants of his enjoyment. So, to taste this highest nectar of Krishna consciousness, ultimately, we have to purify our conscience by the rules and regulations. And I remember Mahosa Prabhu actually said one time, I think he said, book distribution is not different than Ras Leela. And you can actually experience this, because there's no comparison to that ecstasy. Like it says in this verse, there's no comparison to the ecstasy of book distribution. There's no comparison to the ecstasy that the devotees were feeling for Krishna. And if you truly want to taste this nectar of Krishna consciousness, we have to go out and do book distribution, or at least help those who are engaged in the Krishna conscious distribution of literature. Actually, I remember I was reading the Nectar Devotion that to be religious, Prabhupada defines religious as a person who practically practices the tenets of religion as they are enjoined in the scriptures and who teaches others the same principles. So he actually says that to be religious means to go out, first practice yourself, purify yourself, like my grandma says. You have to save yourself before you save others. So to be religious means to save yourself by following the tenets of religion, and to go out and save others. So, but before, like I said, we can taste this full nectar, we have to understand the rules and regulations. And like I said, I'm not so qualified to speak on such high subject matters of the dealings of the gopis. However, I do know that Rupa Goswami, he directly experiences this, the Ras Leela. He's Rupa Manjari in the spiritual world. So the rules and regulations that he laid down in the nectar of instruction are meant for our benefit. They're meant for us to purify our illicit desires, our desires for lust, and turn them to love. So we have to follow the rules and regulations. So in the preface of the nectar instruction, I don't know if everybody's heard these lectures by His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Swami on just the preface on the nectar instruction. It's like 7 or 8 lectures, only just on like 2 lines. It's really amazing. This Christian consciousness movement is under the supervision of the Rupa Goswami, and I think he also talks about how Christian consciousness depends. Advancement of Christian consciousness depends on the practitioner. So he takes like 7 lectures just talking about these 2 points, which is really incredible. So this point of the Christian consciousness movement being conducted under the direct supervision of Rupa Goswami. Like I said, he's directly perceiving this translation and purport. Rupa Goswami is directly experiencing this, and out of his supreme compassion, he's come down and gave us rules and regulations so we can also come to this highest platform of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada also says in that preface that unless one controls the mind and senses, it is not possible to advance. So we have to learn how to control our mind and senses. Not that we just artificially say, oh, I love Krishna. No, in order to do that, you have to control your mind and senses first. And actually the very first verse of the nectar instruction, just by following that verse, all the other instructions, they also become manifest in your heart. So this Vacho Vegam, Manasa Kroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapasa Vegam, Etan Vegam, Yo Vishayeta Devahas, Arvam Apimam Prativim Sashishat. So this verse, just by following this alone, this is how you make advancement in Christian consciousness. This is how you understand the other verses. A lot of people, because I think it's like verse 8, the essence of all advice is to chant Krishna's name 24 hours a day and to live in Vrindavan. So some people want to go to Vrindavan, they bathe around it. When we went to Vrindavan, we saw people doing parikrama, Dandavat parikrama. They're just doing dandavats. But ultimately, yes, that's you get some benefit. But first, before you do that, you should learn to control your mind. You should learn how to control your mind, because like Prabhupada says in this preface, you can't make advancement in Christian consciousness unless you control your mind. So just going on this Vachora Vegam verse, so Vachora Vegam, you should control your tongue. Yeah, you should control the tongue. The tongue wants to speaking power. You want to speak so many nonsense things. You go on books, you hear people just on the phone speaking so much nonsense. And Prabhupada says that, it's like the croaking of the frog. The frog is croaking, and it's just inviting the snake to come. Just croaking, just speaking nonsense. So as devotees, we should be aware of prajalpa. It's easy, you get comfortable with other devotees, but this you should control your speaking power. Speak matters only directly related to Krishna. This is the very first instruction in the nectar of instruction, the very first verse. So we have to control our speaking power. So we should control our mind. And how do we control our mind? By chanting Hare Krishna, by being attentive in our japa. Like I said, these are rules and regulations. So at first it may seem like it's artificial. It's not getting any pleasure or bliss out of it. However, by following it, you get the ultimate bliss. Just how, I'm not sure how familiar you guys were like legal matters, but if somebody gets arrested and they want to get out, it's something called a plea deal, and you give them certain conditions to fulfill the deal so they can get out of with their situation. Same thing. So we're in prison in the material world. We're in prison Prabhupada says we're in prison by our genitals. Ultimately, We're imprisoned by generals. So in order to get rid of this imprisonment, we have to follow rules and regulations. This is our condition. This is like the condition for early release. So when we follow these regulations, it's guaranteed to get released. It's guaranteed, and you see it practically by seeing Prabhupada disciples and also seeing devotees in this temple. So, like I said, Manasa, you should control the mind by chanting Hare Krishna. Although it might seem it's like an arduous process, I'll have to wake up early and chant. But if you have faith that you will get early release, you will get untangled from material tabernacle, you will engage in this process, and eventually you'll taste the bliss. Krishna is not some tyrant. He'll give you glimpses of it, but then he'll make you work for it. So you should control our anger. What ultimately anger just comes from lust. It says that in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's when you contemplate the object of the senses, then lust arises, and then lust, anger. So ultimately, we have anger off of slight discrepancies because we have lust in our heart. Nonetheless, Prabhupada does say that you can employ your anger for those who blaspheme devotees. That's how you control your anger. But it's not that, I'm just going to store a bunch of anger, and once somebody blasphemes, I'm just let it loose. No, it's not. It's not like that. You should understand the reason why you have a lot of anger in your heart, because it's lust. It's just lust. It's the transformation of lust. So, and like I said previously, the process of transforming lust is by following the rules and regulations. Seriously, Prabhupada says a lot. I looked in the database, this word, sincere and serious. Sincere and serious. We have to be sincere, and we have to be serious. We have to be serious about practicing Krishna consciousness, and that way we can control our lust and anger. So, jiva, that's the tongue. Yeah, jiva. We should control our tongue. We do it by tasting prasadam. And even when we taste prasadam, we should, early on, we just think it's just food, but ultimately, this is mercy. The prasadam is his mercy of Krishna. He's come down. It's a mystical process, actually. You see, they offer the prasadam, he takes it. You don't see him take it. Even when you're eating it, you just think it's just food. But no, this is mercy, and this is actually devotional service. Just by taking it, we should be fully conscious of the fact that Krishna has incarnated in this prasadam to purify us. Fully conscious. My Guru Maharaj says that by being fully conscious of eating prasadam, you can taste the bliss of chanting Krishna consciousness purely. Yeah. So, of course, it takes time, because ultimately, like I said, our tongue is uncontrolled. But we control our tongue by tasting prasadam and by taking with the consciousness that this is non-different from Krishna. It's not meant for my enjoyment. It's meant for service. So Vachova Vegam Masakrodam Jiva Vegam Udarapasta. So that's the belly and genitals. So the belly, ultimately you control the belly, like I said, by controlling the tongue. Essentially, you control all the mind, the belly, and genitals by controlling the tongue. But the belly, you control it also by taking prasadam. But when you take too much prasadam in your belly, what happens is it weighs down your genitals and you become more lusty. So we should also control that. And so belly and the genitals, and you control the genitals for brahmacharis for being celibate, and for grihastas by only propagating Krishna conscious children or producing Krishna conscious children. But ultimately, we should all strive to be celibate. It's not that, I'm going this and then I can enjoy. Ultimately, you can't make advancement in Krishna consciousness unless you're celibate. So this process, these rules and regulations that Rupa Goswami gave us by his extreme mercy, the very first verse, I can go through every single verse, but unless we master this first one, and like I said, the essence of all advice is to reside in Vrindavan and chant Krishna's name 24 hours a day. But you can't do that. If our mind is disturbed, speaking for myself, when I was in Vrindavan, I was in monkey consciousness. And those who've been in Vrindavan know that there's monkeys everywhere. And not only that, I'm literally like, my own monkey, it's a dump entendre. But, yeah, I was there, but because my uncontrolled mind and senses, I couldn't really relish the experience of Vrindavan. And actually, because I have to do an abbreviated class, I want to speak about this later, but it says, towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada says that, thus, even though he's not present, he is not away from Vrindavan for a moment. So Vrindavan, you can be in Vrindavan and still be in Maya. Vrindavan is a state of consciousness. We have to understand this. Krishna consciousness also means you're conscious, you're in Vrindavan. Vrindavan, Krishna is paraphernalia, they're non-different, and Krishna is always in Vrindavan. So when you're in Krishna consciousness, you're also in Vrindavan. And you see this multiple times. So when Prabhupada, I remember I read in Lila Amrita that he was giving a class, and I think on a Jamil, and he said Narayana, and then he was just stunned in ecstasy. He couldn't talk. He couldn't talk for some time. He was in Vrindavan. Even our own Guru Maharaj, I think in Radhasami, he was speaking on these intimate pastimes of Radharani, and he was stunned in ecstasy. He was in Vrindavan. Although he was in Charlotte physically, his consciousness was in Vrindavan. So Vrindavan is a state of consciousness. And we get there, like I said, by following the rules and regulations. So I'll just keep going through the purport because I don't have so much time left. So it says that Lord Krishna finally admitted his defeat. No, that's yeah, right here. His love for them was so intense there's no comparison to that ecstasy, and the damsels of Raja were so much attached to him that their affection excelled that of the great demigods of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So the gopis are more exalted than Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So devotees are in a unique position because they're serving Krishna not for material facilities but for pure love. And because of that, they're more exalted than these great demigods. And I think it was Prahlad Maharaj when Nrsimhadev came down, Lakshmi, she couldn't pacify him. She couldn't pacify Lord Nrsimhadev. I don't think she ever seen a form so ferocious. Even Lord Brahma, he couldn't pacify. None of the great demigods could. So actually, Lord Brahma, he told Prahlad Maharaj, go, please, you pacify him because you're a pure devotee. So you see, practically, and he's only a little boy. How is it that this little boy is being ushered by great demigods to pacify Krishna or Lord Nrsimhadev? Yeah, the exalted position of the Vaishnavas. So we should strive for this. We shouldn't strive for to be demigod. I think you were saying that you asked a question like, Prabhupada said that a lot of his disciples are going to be demigods in the next life. That's not. We shouldn't strive for that though. It's not like, although I'm not practicing seriously, at least I'm going to be a demigod. No, why? So you're gonna have to come back down this material world. In the 5th canto, the demigods in heaven are lamenting. They're lamenting seeing the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement in Kali Yuga. They're saying how they're enjoying nicely in heaven. They're experiencing all these material facilities, and they're lamenting seeing their devotees. So you see people want to go to heaven, Christians, heaven. Okay, well, ultimately those residents in heaven, they want to come to the Krishna consciousness movement because they understand the supreme position of devotees. Devotees are getting real bliss. There might be some type of material bliss up there, but ultimately it's transient, it's temporary. It's not really relishable. So the position that these karmis are striving for, being in these great positions, the position they're striving for, these demigods, they want to come into the Krishna consciousness movement. So those who are intelligent will understand that there's no use to these material facilities, no use to this material happiness. So keep going through the purport. What does it say? Yeah, so when Krishna would leave them, they cannot tolerate the separation. He used to follow them with their eyes and mind. So this is speaking on Vipralambha. This is the mood of separation. Like I said, this is very esoteric subject matter that I'm not really qualified to speak too much on, but I would give whatever I know about it. But I do know that Lord Chaitanya came to give us this. He came to give us this serving Krishna in a mood of separation. Because ultimately, we're never really separated from Krishna. Even when we come down the material world, Krishna still, he's with us as Paramama, in his Paramama feature. However, those pure devotees, they recognize that, they want to be with Krishna personally in his two-handed form playing the flute. And the gopis, they were cultivating this. They had this. And so ultimately, we have the desire to be with Krishna. Like I was saying previously in my class, we have all these illicit desires in our heart. I was reading in 11th canto that the only way to combat these material desires is to put your guru. You have to put your guru in your heart and worship him as your worshipable deity. By putting your guru in your heart and worship him as your deity, this is how you overcome these material desires. Because ultimately your guru, he's the one that can, and in Krishna, they're the one that can enlighten you in the spiritual knowledge. They can purify your heart. This is Tesham Avanu Kampata Mahama Gyana Jamtamaha Nasayam Yama Bhavaso Gyana Dipina Basvataha. Now this Gyana Dipina Basvataha, this fire of knowledge, the shining lamp of knowledge, The shining lamp of knowledge, the guru and Krishna, they give to you. They give you the knowledge of who you are as a conscious position of serving Krishna. So we have to have a strong desire to serve Krishna. We can't artificially try to cultivate a mood of separation. No, this mood of separation is a symptom of love. We don't skip steps in the rules and regulations. Just how you want to be liberated, you want this moksha, but that's a byproduct of bhakti. You practice bhakti yoga, and this moksha is a byproduct. Similarly, by following the process of Krishna consciousness and developing love, separation is a byproduct. We don't go straight to I want to separate, feel the separation. No, that's a symptom of love, which the gopis exhibited. So we have to have a strong desire to be with Krishna and to serve Krishna and to serve our Guru Maharaj. Because ultimately, we're nothing. We're made of the mercy of our Guru. Yeah, we're completely made of the mercy of our Guru. I wouldn't even be here without the mercy of my Guru. He sent Mahosa Prabhu to the park that day, and if I didn't meet him, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what I would be doing. But ultimately, your Guru comes to you through instructions. Yes, the Vapu is very important. You should serve the Guru intimately, but the Vani of the Guru is more important. The Vani, by having the Vani of the Guru, this is your ticket back to Godhead, by following his instructions. And like I said, I don't have so much time. I want to speak on more things, but I have a couple more stuff to talk about. Oh, actually, who's on you on it? Can you go to Canto 4, chapter 28, text 53? In this, in the context of this mood of separation. So can you just go to the text, not the translation, just the text. Yeah, you can. You know how to do that? Yeah, just the text though, because I want to go through a series of verses without the translation. Yeah. I'll give you some context. So I don't know, everybody's read the fourth canto, but it's a story of King Puranjana. And this king, he was completely attached to his body, so Narada Muni instructed him about, the gates of the body. And pretty much this king, he became attached to his wife, so he became a woman in his next life. And when he became, it's 53. He became attached to his wife, and he became a woman in his next life. And as a woman, her husband died. And as this woman was lamenting for her husband, Krishna in the form of a Brahmana came to her. And this is where I want to... Oh, yeah. Yeah, just... You gotta get him. Let me get on my app. Do I have to read this? 4:28:53. Let me see if I can pull it up on here. Yeah. You got it. Yeah, I think it's the next one. That's 50. Yeah. I just want to. Yeah, exactly. So this is Krishna speaking. Krishna came, and as this, like I said, this king. He came back as a woman. He was lamenting because her husband died, and Krishna came to her in the form of a Brahmana. And this is Krishna speaking. He says, "My dear friend," this is in the context of this mood of separation. "My dear friend, even though you cannot immediately recognize me, can't you remember that in the past you had a very intimate friend? Unfortunately, you gave up my company and accepted a position as an enjoyer of this material world." Okay, the next verse. Yeah, my dear gentle friend, both you and I are exactly like two swans. We live together in the same heart, which is just like the Manasa lake. Although we have been living together for many thousands of years, we are still far away from our original home. My dear friend, you are now my very same friend. Since you have left me, you have become more and more materialistic, and not seeing me, you have been traveling in different forms throughout this material world, which was created by some woman. And Prabhupada describes that the external energy, this Prakriti, this is this woman. So ultimately, the point I'm making is Krishna came to this woman. Krishna was feeling more separation than she was. Krishna was feeling this separation because, like I said in the previous verse, we decided, because we're ultimately, this is symbolic of us, we decided to come to this material world. We decided to take on the position as enjoyers. And Krishna felt so much pain. He still feels the pain. He feels so much pain by us being here and trying to take on the position of enjoyers, because he knows we're suffering. He knows ultimately we can't taste any tangible happiness by doing so. But lifetime after lifetime, we've turned our face away from Krishna. And he feels more separation than we do. So ultimately the gopis, the reason why also it says in the purport that Krishna, he couldn't repay their love, because they had this mood of separation that's so intense that Krishna, he couldn't reciprocate. He said he's indebted to their love. He's indebted to them. Just how we're indebted to our forefathers, predecessors, we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna's indebted to the love of the gopis. So this pure love is so powerful because it controls God himself. It controls God. Like I said, for regular Christians, they can't understand this. They can't understand how God can be controlled by love. But that's Krishna's nature. His heart is full. He is full of love for his devotees. I want to speak on more things, but I was told I had to stop at a certain time. But I do want to leave off with just saying that ultimately, if we want to experience that highest happiness that the gopis are feeling in this verse, we have to follow the rules and the regulations. We have to control the mind. We have to realize the difference between matter and spirit. There's a Bible verse, and there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. But this Bible verse, I used to meditate on this all the time. That and it's like 2 Corinthians 4:13, that we shouldn't focus our mind on what's seen, but what's unseen. Because what's seen is temporary, but what's unseen is eternal. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, it's Mamaivam Sojiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manasastan Injani Pakadistani Karsiti. That all these living entities, we're part and parcel of Krishna. We're spirit soul. We should focus on our spiritual nature. We shouldn't focus on our mind, on our mundane intelligence. We should turn our face towards Krishna. Because ultimately, by trying to follow our senses, we're only being more and more entangled in this material tabernacle. So the rules and regulations are meant to purify us to the highest standard of Krishna consciousness. And these devotees who are out doing books right now, they're tasting this bliss. They're tasting this bliss of the rasa dance, the rasa lila. They're tasting it. And that's how can somebody go out 6 days a week, non-stop, year after year, doing books without any pleasure? Yeah, it's non-different. You're getting the highest bliss by doing so. And part of the rule regulations is not only purifying yourself, but helping purify others. So before we can jump to this highest stage that the gopis are feeling with Krishna, we have to start with the basics, control our mind, control our senses, study the nectar of instruction, study the nectar of devotion, study Prabhupada's books, discuss them with others. And this way we can come to a higher level of perfection. And I will end my class now. Can I take questions or comments? Sorry. Maybe one. All right, go keep going.
Hare Krishna. Just a couple things. So one thing, there's a verse, I don't know the Sanskrit yet, but there's a verse by Prahlad Maharaj where he roughly says that, what is that? Anyways, that he was, there's a couple verses like that, but he was born in a family of passive ignorance.
Yeah.
And the specific thing about that verse is that he mentions that that this special mercy that he's receiving wasn't given to Brahma, Shiva, or Lakshmi, but then he gave him that special mercy and put his hand on his head. And we're getting like big deja vu right now. But anyways, I was thinking specifically with this verse is that connection is there because that Krishna put his hands on the gopis. So that special mercy is given to them also.
Yeah, sure.
That Prahlad Maharaj was speaking of. And then just two other small points. One thing is that Vrindavan, of course, is a state of mind, but it also actually is like a physical place.
Yeah.
Not physical in the sense of like that. It's a spiritual
Yeah,
place.
the problem with breaking is that you can even, it is a physical place.
Yeah.
But you can still experience, you can still be in Vrindavan conscious, you can still be in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Even while being like far away from it,
Yeah,
in a sense.
that's there. I'm just making that
Yeah.
point that it's also actually like a
It is, yeah, that's right.
yeah, that it is actually like a. Anyways, I know you're not making that point and thing. I'm just like clarifying
Okay, yeah.
that Vrindavan is a place that devotees are and stuff like that. And it is a conscious because the Lord Chaitanya, that's mentioned there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. One of the, I think, is a Dvaitacharya told Lord, like wherever you are, that is Vrindavan.
Right.
So of course that's there. And then if whatever, we're Vrindavan, but we're trying to make money, then that's not Vrindavan.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can be in so many places. But at the same time, Krishna has like a specific like spiritual abode.
Right.
Which is like aspired for by devotees. And the interesting point you're bringing up towards the end, but just like Krishna's feeling of separation, which is, it's an interesting point because it's mentioned a lot, not so much, it's mentioned in specific points in Shastra, but it's a huge point for us, especially coming into Krishna consciousness. Just kind of understanding, because we come and we're suffering this and that, so many things or whatever, we want something. But when we actually like start to make some advancement in Krishna consciousness and realize things, then we understand that which is important and which is the one aspect of Sharanagati or surrender, that humility, understanding that we screwed up.
Yeah, sure.
That, whatever we did in the past, we shouldn't have done that. And as a result, we've caused Krishna some inconvenience. In the sense that, and that, we should have been serving him. And as a result of not serving, anyways, he gave us that freedom and let us do whatever. But but he's been, thinking and making arrangements to bring us back. And then that's mentioned, in that stanza there, that's whole mention that, it's like the Krishna, or what is this, Vaidarbhi.
Yeah.
Is speaking what the super soul or whatever that
Yeah.
story is given, and so he's making the point that it's I'm like your greatest friend, you're ever well wisher, and it's but you've turned your back on me, you've completely forgotten me. So it's anyways, there's all these love stories in the material world, but it's there's no greater love than what Krishna feels towards his devotees,
Sure.
because in the material world, we're speaking on that principle here in these verses, and material life is I love you for some time, and then you do this, you do that, and then the love breaks. But the love that Krishna feels for his devotees, and devotees that they feel towards Krishna and other devotees, that's not something that breaks with the passage of time or
Right.
under certain circumstances. So anyways, it's amazing to meditate on that point, but then to come to the understanding, humility, and understand, okay, I did this, and now I have to be serious. And so Krishna mentions in those verses that your greatest friend, your ever wish, and things like that. But anyways, nice point. I always appreciated that point.
Yeah, I remember when I first read that, it hit me hard because I realized this is me, Krishna, he's really speaking, because Krishna speaks to us through the Bhagavatam, and he's really speaking where have you been all these years? You turned your face away from me, and I don't know, when I was preparing for the class, I just thought about that, but that's it. Maybe one more question. Is it? Okay. All right, Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vancha kalpataru jai kripa sinu paya cha patitana bhagavata vaishnavi namo.